Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. So a lot's going on right now. You know that, I know that, everybody knows that. Afghanistan, Washington, D.C., the White House, Camp David, China, all over. Things are moving and they're moving pretty fast, and it's moving at a speed that it's kind of hard to keep up. And I think a lot of you are probably in the same boat that I am. You're trying to see through what we're hearing in the news or even in just reporting of individuals on the ground and trying to figure out what's going on, because there's always more to the story. And we're seeing a lot of optics, but we're trying to figure out where it's all headed. And I want to today kind of give you some updates if you haven't received all these, and kind of give you a little bit of my take. I don't claim to be an expert or have any kind of knowledge about something that you may not have access to. Most of this is just my opinion, but I do believe that what's happening overseas is directly going to affect and is affecting us here in the United States. Not just in the sense that we could be looking at a war, or that we're seeing ourselves be defeated, or that there are lives being lost or dollars being lost, but also things that will directly affect us here on the home front. And so, as prepared homesteaders, we need to be aware of these kind of things. And so we'll try to, as best as I can, give you some takes and from my perspective of what's going on, or at least what we should be alerted on. Before I get started, I just want to mention, if there are folks out there that are in the market for water filtration, there is a link in the description below to Berkey water filters. The name speaks for itself. I mean, they are the Cadillac of home filtration. Their name is known far and wide. They have a great reputation, and if you're interested in or in the market of looking for one, you can find a link down in the description below that'll take you to their website, where you can find genuine, authorized, not fakes, Berkeys. So, in case you aren't keeping up, it's fallen apart in Afghanistan, and most specifically Kabul at the airport. The scenes that are coming out of there are simply horrific. I can put some of it up here on the screen, but we're seeing, planes taking off with people trying to strap themselves to the outside of the plane, grabbing onto the wheels, trying to leave with the plane. And of course, we're seeing lives being lost just in that sense, because as the plane's leaving, you can watch people falling to their death below. There's been people shot and killed. Our soldiers have had to do some of that, defending themselves and the others around them. There's been video coming out this afternoon of people trying to climb the fence to get into the airport, hoping to be evacuated, and they're being picked off, or at least they're attempting to shoot at them, and it appears that it's probably the Taliban that is doing that. There's so much there that I could make an entire video just on what's happening with the failed evacuation and this whole failed experience. It's just awful. It's making us as a nation look weaker than we've already looked before. It's horrible, and I'm not going to get on here and badmouth any soldier, because it's not their fault. This has been done from the top down. The previous administration probably holds some blame to it, but really the blame goes from all the way to the beginning of when we first entered that country and how it's been handled. But that's not the subject for today's video. The point is we have experienced a very serious black eye, and as a nation, and there's a lot of things going on. Now, a lot of those things that are going on, we're seeing globally. Here's an article from the Jerusalem Post. Hamas is congratulating the Taliban on defeating the United States. And, well, they're not wrong. China has been talking it up with about Hong Kong and Taiwan, and basically telling them, listen, you're the only reason that you exist and are resistant to us is because you have America on your side, And you think that America's going to come to your rescue, but guess what? They didn't even come to Afghanistan's rescue. Look what happened in Afghanistan, and it's going to happen to you. There is a lot of movement behind the scenes with China and Russia into Afghanistan, supporting the Taliban, and there's a lot of stuff going on there. The Russian embassy has been untouched. All the Russian people in the embassy are still there, and they're just kind of sitting around, probably drinking their vodka and laughing at the whole experience. And then we have here on the home front, we have an administration that's been in hiding. As of the watching of this video, I'm going to assume that you've seen, or at least it's out there, that the president has announced that he'll be talking this afternoon about Afghanistan. It remains to be seen what he's going to say. So I'm not going to speculate, because probably by the time you watch this, you'll already know what he said. Possibly. Is it going to be a blame game? Is he going to accept responsibility? Is he going to resign? There's all these different speculations out there about what's going on, and we don't know yet. I will say this: the press, even the mainstream liberal press, in the last 24 hours especially, have not given the president a free pass on this one. Even the New York Times has come out pretty tough in some articles, and opinion articles, about what's going on and how it's being handled. The press secretary, of course, has gone on vacation. The vice president seems to be MIA. There's just a lot happening. Photos that were released supposedly of the president at Camp David talking to people now appear to probably have been taken sometime back in March, and were released to make it appear as if he's, talking to people currently about the current situation. I could go on and on. The fact is, and I get this a lot. Oh, you're trying to instill fear in people. You're trying to, scare people, and it's just this fear porn and blah, blah, blah. No, that's not it. The fact is things are bad right now with this situation. There's no other way to look at it. It's an embarrassing failure. There are lives that have been lost, and billions and billions and billions of dollars spent that were completely wasted. And now currently there are lives being lost. And most certainly, even after, we get out, even if we get out with, without a scratch, which is unlikely, there's going to be other lives lost. And here we have equipped the Taliban with top of the line equipment, because we just walked away from everything. We walked away from with just boatloads of equipment. And the last reporting that I saw is that the airport where pretty much everyone that needs to evacuate is surrounded by 10,000 plus armed Taliban soldiers, which they're recently armed with top of the line equipment from, Uncle Sam, basically. Things aren't going very well there. How does that transpose into you and I here, other than just the obvious? Then some of you may have loved ones there, and other things. But I'm talking about, how is it going to affect us? We don't really know. Some people believe that this could be the start of a world war, and I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I will say this: things are being set in place that could certainly lead to that. I don't see why it wouldn't. I mean, if things work out in the way that it looks like that they're turning out, we could certainly see an increase in conflict in that area, which could in turn, bleed over into a world war between us and whoever, and China and Russia. They have been preparing for such a thing for a long time, both nations, and they've been very open about that. And so I'd say over the next days and few weeks, global tensions will be greatly increased because of what we're seeing play out right now in Afghanistan. It could end up going pretty good. It could end up, working out in the end for the most part. One of the headlines that I saw that just It's an embarrassment that our top generals have personally met face to face with the leaders of the Taliban in Afghanistan, basically begging them to please just hold off your fighters long enough so that we can evacuate our people. Here we are, once the most powerful military on the planet, and our top generals are basically groveling to these ragtag, almost medieval style fighters, asking them to please don't hurt us so that we can tuck tail and run. Please just give us a little time and we'll retreat. This is an embarrassment. This is an embarrassment on an epic level. Coming back home, just before all this really started to heat up, we had obviously an article coming out talking, and I've mentioned this several times, but I think it's important. I'm mentioning it several times because of its importance, I believe. And it's talking about Joe Biden, that the administration is wanting to heat up the restrictions and mandates on you and I here in the United States, basically the ones that aren't getting this. They want it to be, an intense lockdown, let's say, or whatever term that they're going to use for those of us that are choosing not to get it. It says in the article that Biden is the one that's trying to hold that back a little bit. Not because he doesn't want it to happen, but he's wanting to allow enough time for the rest of the American population to finally say, yeah, we need this. He's wanting to get as many Americans on his side before imposing whatever draconian restrictions that they're going to do. And it says so right there in the article, and it mentions things like interstate travel, restrictions of interstate travel, or at least potentially, probably most likely starting from air travel, but could end up seeing state-to-state border crossings as a potential. And even more, it kind of alludes to, possibly more tough restrictions. And the article again also alludes to that it's surprisingly Biden seems to be the one that's wanting to kind of, move a little bit slower. So it's quite possible, and this is my hypothesis, that there are people really wanting to get rid of him. It's quite possible that the way things are being done could be to make him look bad, could be to make him look incapable, to create a scenario. Again, this is all hypothetical, of trying to find an exit for him. There have been tweets online that are completely unverified, stating that there are meetings and conversations being held inside the White House on working out a deal for the 25th Amendment. But I'm not going to verify that because I can't. I will say that certain tweets, hashtags like Biden must resign and the 25th Amendment have been trending for the last 2 days on Twitter. So there does seem to be an increase, and there's definitely talk now on a little bit bigger scale of things like impeachment and the 25th Amendment. So is that the area that we're headed? It's possible, and maybe that's why Kamala has been quiet, why they're trying to hide her, and what little is coming out from her in her office, it has nothing to do with anything going on. Again, I get it. This is extreme speculation and hypothetical, but I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility. If that happens, this is where preppers, it's not that I truly believe that happens. I know that, or truly believe that will happen, but I know that is a possibility. Therefore, as part of my preparedness contingency plan, I need to make preparations in case that scenario happens. If that scenario or something close to that happens, every indication is that Kamala is going to be way, way more tough than the president has been. And that probably she has the backing of a lot of the people and companies and organizations that are really wanting to crack down hard. If that's the case, and if that happens over the coming days or weeks, it could get pretty serious. We also have this DHS bulletin that we've talked about several times. Is this part of it? Again, most of you agree with this because the comments and the emails you send me tell me that nothing is coincidental, at least not at this level. And this stuff has been planned out and it's playing out for them like a chess game. And if that's so, we just have to figure out their strategy. Is this all just a big, mess up, big old foobar? I don't think so. I mean, there's certainly probably some mistakes that's been made. They can't know everything and how everything works, but I'm pretty sure that there's a good chance that this has been planned out. We just have to figure out what their end goal is. I mean, even the intelligence community is kind of, in a way, throwing the president under the bus. And a lot of the mainstream media is starting to do that. The tone has certainly changed in the last 24 hours. So, getting down to the meat and taters of this video, aside from World War, because that's certainly something that we need to prepare for, and I'll mention some more on that here in just a minute, we also need to be, aware, alert, that, on a higher alert, that there's a possibility that we could see a changing of the guard, so to speak, in Washington, D.C. If that happens, folks like you and I think, are going to have it much worse than we've already seen. I think that, just that. It's just going to be worse. And things need to be serious. I've mentioned several times on here, I want to say this real quick, of the things that's happening in other parts of the world. I saw something in Australia. Now they're saying that you can't even drink alcohol, or you can't even take your mask off to drink alcohol. Like if you go to a bar in Australia and you order a drink, you have to keep your mask on while drinking it. I haven't quite figured that one out. It's insanity, folks. It's happening all over the world. It's happening in democratically elected governments, in areas of people that have in the past have been nearly as free as us, not quite as free, but close. Don't think for one moment that these things that we've seen in Australia and Canada and the United Kingdom and elsewhere just have no possibility of happening here. They most certainly have a possibility of coming here, and there are many, many people in the media and in politics and elsewhere that are saying that are wanting that. There are the American people, the amount of people that want to see people arrested or people quarantined or people forced to receive something they don't want is going up into numbers that are scary. So this is serious. Going back to the possibility of a world war or just an increase in conflict, that's something to be concerned with also. OPEC has said that, they're not increasing production. Biden shuts down the pretty much kills the oil business here in the United States. And I get it, that's an exaggeration. And then goes to OPEC and asks them to increase their production. OPEC's like, no, we're not going to do it. Expect gas prices to go up. Expect shortages to start seeing happening more and more. Food is the same way. There's lots and lots of indication that food, and we've talked about this extensively, and so have channels like Ice Age Farmer, that in the coming months, food shortages and the cost of food could certainly start really getting rough. This is why we prepare, folks. This is why you need to get your house in order, prepare mentally, physically, and spiritually, build community around you, because things are moving at a pretty good clip right now. And the things that are happening globally, if we did fall into a global war of some sort, it's certainly going to affect us here. It would also be an opening to say, hey, we need to lock our own country down. We're letting all these illegals pour through the border. We're evacuating all these people out of Afghanistan that haven't been checked. Where are they going to take them? If they end up here in the United States, directly or indirectly, there's potential for danger, threat, all that kind of stuff. Don't be too surprised if we don't see something like a false flag eventually, or in the coming weeks, which would also give them reason to lock things down more drastically. I know everything that I've said personally in this video is a hypothetical situation, but I think that these are things that are well within the realm of possibility. And because the maybe the odds of them are getting kind of higher that they could happen, and other things that I haven't mentioned, we should be a little bit more on our toes. We should, be more alert. It doesn't mean we fall into this, uh, caverns of fear and darkness. No, it means that we're more alert, we're more prepared, we're making moves in our lives, in our home, in our finances, to get as stocked up as we possibly can. So that's, in the end, that's the only thing we do, or can do, is work on our hearts, our souls, our mind, our body, our preps, our family, and our community around us, because in the end, that's all we have while we're still here on this earth. All right, folks, thank you for watching. Catch you in the next video.